Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Tanvi Taneja. Coming up in the next hour. Israel's army chief vows to hit back Iran if it retaliates. US says UN relief agency UNRWA ban could have consequences under US law. Early voting is underway in the key swing state of Georgia. Voters say they trust the process with 1 week left until US presidential election. EU slaps tariffs on Chinese EVs, risking Beijing payback. And Brazil reacts strongly to Vinicius Jr.'s Ballon d'Or snub, called the decision as an unjust and retaliatory move. The United States has expressed concern about the loss of lives in an Israeli strike on a residential building in northern Gaza. At least 93 people were dead and several reported missing after the strike hit Beit Lahia city on Tuesday. The Israeli military has been operating in northern Gaza in recent days, targeting Hamas. The Israeli military acknowledged reports of civilians harmed in the airstrike, stating that the details of the incident were under investigation. U.S. State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller said that U.S. officials had reached out to the government of Israel to ask what happened, adding that he could not speak about the total death toll so far.
We are deeply concerned by the loss of civilian life in this incident. We have reached out to the government of Israel to ask what happened here, and Israel has decimated Hamas's military capabilities. And all of that, getting to here, came at great cost to civilians in Gaza, which is, of course, often the case when civilians are caught in the crossfire in conflict. And it is another reminder of why we need to see an end to this war.
Meanwhile, the United States Department of State said on Tuesday that Israel's decision to ban the UN relief agency UNRWA could have consequences under US laws. A law passed by Israel on Monday to ban the UN Palestinian Refugee Agency from operating inside Israel has raised concerns about its ability to provide relief in Gaza after over a year of war. The agency, which employs thousands of people in Gaza, provides nearly the entire population of the coastal enclave with basic supplies and needs access through Israel.
Deeply troubled by this legislation. It could shutter UNRWA operations in the West Bank, in Gaza, in East Jerusalem. There could be consequences under U.S. law and U.S. policy for the implementation of this legislation. We are going to engage with the government of Israel in the days ahead about how they plan to implement it.
Meanwhile, in Lebanon, Hezbollah has named Naim Qassem as its new leader, but Israel said that its tenure would be temporary as an apparent threat after it killed his predecessor Hassan Nasrallah in Beirut over a month ago. Qassem was appointed as Hezbollah's deputy chief in 1991 by the group's then Secretary General Abbas al-Musawi, who was killed by an Israeli helicopter attack the following year. Qassem remained in his role when Nasrallah became a leader and has long been one of Hezbollah's leading spokesmen. Since Nasrallah's killing, Qassem has given 3 televised addresses, including one on October 8th, in which he said that he supported efforts to reach a ceasefire for Lebanon. Israel continued its campaign against Hezbollah with new strikes in southern Lebanon. Plumes of smoke were visible from Lebanon's Marjayon as Israeli strikes hit the outskirts of Qaim village near the border with Israel on Tuesday. Cross-border fighting between Israel and Hezbollah began a year ago when the group started firing rockets in support of Gaza's Palestinian terrorist group Hamas. At the beginning of October, Israel launched a ground operation within Lebanon to attempting to stabilize the border area for Israeli citizens who had fled rocket attacks in northern Israel. Also, Israel's military chief has warned that Iran should stand down for any retaliation for Israel's airstrike near Tehran last week, which followed an Iranian missile barrage on October 1st.
If Iran makes the mistake of launching another missile barrage at Israel, we will once again know how to reach Iran with capabilities that we did not even use this time, and strike very, very hard at both their capabilities and locations that we set aside for now.
DD India's Jessica Taneja joins us for more on the story now. Jessica, with winter approaching and Israel banning the UN Relief Works Agency, how does the ban impact the catastrophic situation on the ground?
So since its inception, the United Nations Relief Work Agency for Palestinians has been operating since 1948, when it had nearly 750,000 refugees back then. Now it is close to 1.9 million and getting closer to 2 million very soon, because the crisis seems to be getting worse in the region. You've seen the airstrikes just a day ago from Israel towards northern Gaza in Beit Lahiya, which has killed now more than 93 people, and that includes 25 children. The situation is dire in terms of humanitarian aid and assistance that is required quite frequently. And with these blockades, it has made the situation even more worse for the refugees who are still in makeshift camps or settlements because of the airstrikes that they've been witnessing in the last so many months, ever since the attack on Israel on October 7. Now, the United Nations Relief Work Agency, Tanvi, is an essential part of how these operations are conducted in terms of providing aid relief, be it medical supplies or even basic food and other necessities like water, medicines. There is a lot that the United Nations Agency does in Palestine, and it has sort of now reached a point where the Israeli parliament has passed not just one law but 2 laws that disable the functions of that agency in the region. So certainly creating a possible scenario where Gaza is absolutely landlocked without aid. And this has invited widespread condemnation, as you heard, not just from the United States, which has potentially said that if Israel does not allow humanitarian aid inside Gaza, it will not provide further military aid, or there will be certain hesitancy, so to say, when it comes to aiding Israel in its military campaign, both in Gaza and Lebanon, as it continues. So situation gets worse, as I said earlier, but the United Nations Relief Work Agency not being able to now do work, it won't be immediately banned. It'll take about 3 more months. There is no complete bar on the agency, but with the souring of diplomatic relations between the United Nations Relief Work Agency and Israel now, with the Knesset now passing those 2 laws with a maximum majority in both the laws. So it certainly looks like the only agency that could provide that humanitarian help will not be able to do its work anymore.
Okay, and with whatever seen last week, Israel launching strikes on Iran's oil facilities and it's sending alarm bells over wider escalation of the conflict, what are the 2 sides saying now?
Well, you hear from Iran, you heard from the Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei. He said categorically that there will be a measured response to the limited airstrikes that were launched by Israel, if you'd recall, on certain Iranian oil facilities and also military targets. So given the shadow war that continues between the two, one can of course not preempt what happens next, but both sides are prepared to counter, and maybe an indication that this war will move ahead from just being a shadow war to an actual one, which it has been simmering for the last 4 decades. But those fears so far have been contained, and that further led to the reduction or a drop in the price of Brent crude, which was trading 6% less just the other day. So things not looking very good in terms of how the scenario is playing out, both for business as well as the safety of citizens and the security of West Asia, Tanvi.
Okay, thank you, Jessica Taneja, for those updates. And joining us now for more perspective on the story is Anil Kumar Trigunayat, the former senior diplomat. Welcome, sir, to the program. On the general West Asia front, do you see fighting continuing for an indefinite period, or is there any hope of a ceasefire?
Well, I think that there are reports from Qatar and from Egypt that next 10 days the negotiations should start. And as you know, that today the Hezbollah has also appointed their new leader, and we don't know whether that leader will continue to last, as the threats have come already from Israel that he may be the short-lived leader like the previous ones. So if that happens, that obviously there won't be a quick ceasefire. But there is a much greater pressure from rest of the world community as far as Lebanon is concerned.
What do you
Because Lebanon has
Yes.
been caught in this warfare.
Yes. So what do you see the former deputy chief and spokesperson of Hezbollah, Sheikh Naim Qasim's, in his new role as head of Hezbollah?
Well, this is precisely what I'm saying is that today they are also under pressure from the ordinary Lebanese who don't want to get caught into this war. I mean, that is why they have also agreed. The previous one who was killed recently and the others have said that we are ready to go in for ceasefire provided there is a ceasefire between Hamas and Israel. Now, Hamas and Israel front is being handled by Qatar, Egypt, and USA together. But since the elections, US elections are very close and the results will be there, I doubt anything can happen before November 5th. Although discussions might start, but Israel may not be in the mood to go in for a ceasefire at this stage.
Israel has said that Hezbollah's new leader's tenure would be temporary. Does that mean that Israel will now be targeting him?
Well, the decapitation of the Hezbollah leadership and the Hamas leadership has become a major strategic tool for the Israelis, and they have very successfully done it. And so we should not be surprised if that also happens.
And what is the likelihood of Iran retaliating against Israel's airstrikes near Tehran last week?
Well, I think that Iran and Israel, in my view, have squared up, although Jessica has given a long report on this, which is pretty good, actually, I must say. But at the same time, I believe that they are not going to escalate irrespective of the kind of statements that have taken place. We have also heard that both sides have shared the intelligence before undertaking these limited operations from both sides. In the UN Security Council, you have seen the discussions, what has happened there, and both sides have just accused. So there is going to be a lot of war of words. It is neither for the benefit of Israel nor for Iran to escalate beyond a point. And all the countries in the Middle East and the rest of the world do not want, under any circumstances, for this war to go beyond the limited proportions. So they have done limited strike, which means this has been just tit for tat to an extent, and mostly on the military installations on both sides.
Okay, talking about the role of the USA, why has the US proved ineffective in brokering a ceasefire, and could it be more effective after the US presidential election?
It depends on who is the US president next. If it is Kamala Harris, then you can see a little more pressure or renewed effort to stop the war, or at least bring about a ceasefire and release of the hostages on the Hamas front. But if it is Trump, then this particular war may even see a blip of escalation before it really gets to that other stage.
Okay, thank you. We'd like to leave this discussion here. Thank you very much, Anil Kumar Trigunayat for joining us on DD India News Hour. Still to come on DD India News Hour. At a critical point in the Ukraine conflict, Russia starts the strategic nuclear training exercise. High waves crash Taiwan's southeastern coast due to super typhoon Kong-ray, expected to make landfall on Thursday. Canada admits leaking details of terrorist Nijjah's killing to a US daily. Opposition criticizes lack of public information. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Tanvi Taneja. On to the other conflict raging in Europe. In a series of strikes on one another, Ukraine launched an overnight drone strike on Russia on Wednesday. Russia's air defense units destroyed 23 Ukrainian drones. In response, Russia conducted airstrikes on Ukraine. Ukraine claims to have destroyed 33 of the 62 Russian drones. Russia on Tuesday said its forces had seized control of the town of Selvidov in eastern Ukraine and had been under sustained attack over the last week. Russian Defense Minister Andrei Belosov also congratulated Russia's 114th Motorized Rifle Brigade on taking Hirnik. Ukraine's military did not comment directly on the Russian claims but reported 31 combat clashes on the Pokrovsk front during the past 24 hours, including near Selidov. Ukraine's deep state open source intelligence map showed part of Selidov as being under Russian control, with about a third as a grey zone. Meanwhile, President Vladimir Putin kicked off the nuclear training exercise on Tuesday at a critical point in the Ukraine conflict. Russia's defense minister Andrei Belosov said that the exercise is aimed to stimulate a massive nuclear strike in response to a first strike by an enemy. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said that the drill was a regular planned event and involved the launch of ballistic and cruise missiles. Defense Ministry further added, as part of the exercise, a Yars intercontinental ballistic missile was launched from the Plesetsk Cosmodrome in northwest Russia to the Kura test range in Kamchatka in the Far East.
We are conducting another exercise of strategic deterrence forces. We will work out the actions of officials in controlling the use of nuclear weapons with practical launches of ballistic and cruise missiles. I would like to stress out that we are not going to be involved in a new arms race, but we will maintain nuclear forces at the level of necessary sufficiency.
On to the US elections now. Early voting is on in Georgia. So amidst hectic electioneering underway across the United States, what are the thoughts in the mind of a first-time voter in these presidential elections? DD India's Shubhendu Ghosh speaks with one such young voter to find out more.
We are in Atlanta. This is the key swing state of Georgia. I have with me a first-time voter, Issikor, who's here with us. Issikor, you cast your ballot for the first time. What was the experience like?
It was pretty easy. You get a card, you put it in the machine, tap a couple boxes on a tablet, and then you're done. It prints out your paper, you put it in the ballot machine. That's it. First
time vote, hugely important. How did you go about deciding who to choose? What research, what work went into that?
It's really hard to do your research because a lot of the news sources and information sources are really biased right now. You have Twitter, you have, other social medias, and you have news outlets which are more entertainment than fact now. So it's really hard to get the full picture.
And Issikor, finally, there's so many issues at the heart of these elections. What one issue mattered to you the most when you cast your very first ballot?
A lot of the issues that mattered to me the most were ones where it shouldn't have been an issue, like abortion rights. I don't think that anyone should be able to control someone else's, if they're having a baby or not, because that's a lot of trouble to go through. It's a lot of pain. It could put your life at risk. It could put your well-being at risk. If you're not prepared to have it, then you should have every right to not have it.
Issikor, thank you very much for speaking with DD India. That was first-time voter here in Atlanta talking about his experience and the issues at the heart of these crucial presidential elections. With camera person Jaishankar, Shubhendu Ghosh for DD India in Atlanta.
The issue of illegal immigrants has taken center stage in the US presidential elections. Donald Trump has promised to crack down on illegal immigration and restrict legal immigration if elected to power. All along his campaign, he's been vilifying immigrants and has pledged to launch the largest deportation effort in US history. To gauge what American voters think of the issue, DD India's Amritpal Singh travels to the US-Mexico border, from where most of the illegal crossing over into the United States takes place. Take a look.
I'm right now standing at the US-Mexico border. What you see behind me is that bridge which connects the United States of America with Mexico. Now, as the issue of immigration or illegal immigration has taken center stage in these elections, especially with Donald Trump raking it up, Kamala Harris is also treading soft on the issue, saying she realizes the immigration system is broken and it needs to be fixed, and she will bring a bill on it and sign it into a law if the Congress passes it. But is that really an issue which matters to the Americans? The Americans say migrants, illegal or legal, contribute much to their society.
They're not our problem. Like, in reality, they were from America.
It's just so dehumanizing. We're a nation of immigrants.
But there are others who have bought into Trump.
There's been occasions where you see illegals running up and down here with no clothes on, carrying bags. There's also been issues with illegals jumping in people's backyards, hiding in people's vehicles. And so you're asking if that's an issue. Yes, absolutely, it's an issue.
Then there are those who disagree with Trump's radical proposals but say the immigration system needs to be fixed.
I think immigration is good, not an open border with people rushing through.
So what you see behind me is the Rio Grande River, hardly a river, just a stream that divides Mexico and the United States of America. It is just knee-deep water that can be easily crossed over. That is why you see the kind of illegal immigration through the southern border of Mexico. But the U.S. also has a fence, but it has surveillance here. You can see security cameras. You can see the border patrol personnel. If the Department of Homeland Security's 2022 data is to be believed, there are 11 million illegal migrants in United States of America, and that is why Donald Trump realizes this issue can be raked up to get votes to come into his kitty. Statistics from the U.S. Homeland Security, however, indicate that there is no direct link between crime and immigrants, any more than it is for naturalized U.S. citizens. Whatever the reality, immigration has become a contentious issue in this election season. The question is, will it lead to significant political dividend for Donald Trump? With cameraman Sanjay Jaina, Amritpal Singh from the Mexico-US border in Texas.
Early voting is underway in the key swing state of Georgia. Nearly 40% of the registered voters have cast their ballots. DD India's Shubhendu Ghosh also got a chance to visit a polling booth in Atlanta and evaluated the mood of the voters there.
We are at an early voting station in Atlanta. This is the capital of Georgia, one of the 7 swing states which are expected to determine the outcome of the US presidential elections. Some 2.6 million voters have already cast their ballot. That's about 40% of the registered voters here. Georgia has 16 electoral votes for grabs. The early voting started on October 15th, will continue till 1st of November. In 2016, it was Donald Trump who won the state. In 2020, it was Joe Biden.
Voting early shows that you actually do truly care about what is happening in this country or what's going to happen to it. We can kind of turn around a whole situation of the voting. Yeah, I think our votes definitely do matter the most.
Everyone has a set agenda, and they want to have different laws or different things put in place. So I think it's very important to see who you're voting for.
A lot of people my age don't have like a good awareness about voting, and like they see it as something that they should let like other people vote for, and that they don't have control. If I could get more of my people to vote, it'll be very good for like the betterment of our society.
We are living in a country that was built on us, but not for us. And in order for my community to have a better future, I believe that early voting is the right choice to make. I mean, our votes mattered when we got Obama into office. Our vote mattered when we got Joe into office, and we can do the same thing for Kamala.
I hope that everybody gets out and votes and does it in early voting so that they have plenty of time to calculate all of the ballots and there's no question marks about what happened and who won. I think it's really important that we're able to usher in the next generation of leaders and people that are coming from all kinds of backgrounds and colors and religions. And I think that it's really important for us to embrace that as we move forward.
Georgia was a swing state in the last presidential election, but I'm afraid we're not going to be. I mean, we are a swing state, but I'm afraid Donald Trump might win the state this time, which is not what I nor my husband, I think, would want. We're very anti-Trump and think he's a fascist and presents an enormous danger to our country and to democracy as we know it.
For Donald Trump to win Georgia, he must keep the sizable Republican voter base intact. He's also trying to chip away at the Democrat support base of black voters. For Kamala Harris, the black voters must come out in support in large number for her. With camera person Jaishankar, Shubhendu Ghosh for DD India in Atlanta.
So with the race neck and neck, both Kamala Harris and Donald Trump are ramping up their campaigns in the final days. Kamala Harris cast the US election as a choice between freedom and chaos in a final big pitch to voters in Washington, D.C. Addressing a crowd of thousands, Harris says it's time to turn the page on the drama and the conflict.
One week from today, you will have the chance to make a decision that directly impacts your life, the life of your family, and the future of this country we love. And it will probably be the most important vote you ever cast. And this election is more than just a choice between two parties and two different candidates. It is a choice about whether we have a country rooted in freedom for every American or ruled by chaos and division.
Earlier, Donald Trump defended his New York rally as a love fest despite criticism sparked by comedian Tony Hinchcliffe, calling the U.S. territory of Puerto Rico a floating island of garbage. Despite a firestorm of outrage on social media from Democrats as well as some leading Republicans, Trump made no apology for the racist comments. Instead, he brushed off the critics who compared it to a 1939 Nazi event at the arena.
The love in that room, it was breathtaking, and you could have filled it many, many times with the people that were unable to get in. But politicians that have been doing this for a long time, 30 and 40 years, said there's never been an event so beautiful. It was like a love fest, an absolute love fest, and it was my honor to be involved. And hopefully, you know, they started to say, well, in 1939, the Nazis used Madison Square Garden. Well, many people have used it, but nobody's ever had a crowd like that. And I tell you what, right now, nobody's ever had love like that. That was love in the room, and it was love for our country.
US President Joe Biden has expressed concerns about the presence of North Korean troops in Russia, saying that Ukraine should strike back if the troops crossed into the country.
Mr. President, are you worried about the North Korean troops in Kursk, in Russia?
I am concerned about it, yes.
Should the Ukrainians strike back?
They crossed into Ukraine, yes.
While Pentagon spokesperson Patrick Ryder said that a relatively small number of these troops were already present in the Kursk region.
We are concerned that they do intend to employ these forces in combat against the Ukrainians, or at least support combat operations against the Ukrainians in the Kursk region. So as of right now, you know, it remains to be seen exactly how the Russians and the North Koreans will employ these forces. But as it relates to the use of weapons, first of all, I would highlight that the weapons and capabilities that the United States and other international partners have provided to Ukraine are Ukrainian weapons and Ukrainian capabilities. And we've been very clear that Ukraine is able to employ those capabilities to defend their sovereign territory from threats that are either emanating from across the border or inside Ukrainian territory.
US President Joe Biden has announced a $3 billion investment to upgrade ports across the US, including Baltimore, where a bridge collapse killed 6 construction workers in March. During a visit to the city's main port, Biden announced the federal funding will improve and electrify port infrastructure sites nationwide while supporting an estimated 40,000 union jobs.
That's why today I'm proud to announce we're delivering $3 billion in funding from my Inflation Reduction Act to help clean up and modernize ports in 27 different states and territories, from Pennsylvania, Georgia, Michigan, and beyond, including, yes, Puerto Rico.
Earlier, President Biden joined hundreds of young voters in his home state of Delaware to cast his early ballot. He expressed his pride in supporting Vice President Kamala Harris and other Democratic candidates. He was emphasizing the importance of participation in this pivotal election. In the wake of the upcoming election, several celebrities have voiced their hopes and concerns about the issues they want the next president to tackle. Celebrities like Oscar winner Matt Damon, Sir Ian McKellen and more have shared their presidential priorities.
Well, I wish somebody would talk about our $34 trillion debt, because that's a lot of money, and if half our tax base is just servicing that debt, that's a problem. It doesn't seem to be getting smaller, so definitely I'd love someone to mention that. I haven't heard a single person mention that yet. It's a lot of money. So yeah, that'd start there.
We have one planet. We have one planet, right? And whatever we need to do to safeguard where we are, where we live, and how do we not only preserve what's right outside our door, but how do we preserve what's on the other side of the world? Because one side can't fall and another one survive, right? Balance, to me, is sort of like the great equalizer. That's right. So I'm looking at things through that lens right now.
I mean, there's so many issues to focus on. At this point, it's about peace for me across the board. So,
personally, I think that there's a lot that everyone can be doing to make the world better for somebody. Of course, there are like the general themes, but I think the main focus that every human can do is to really just treat somebody else the way that they would want to be treated.
Meanwhile, U.S. federal authorities are investigating fires set up at the 2 ballot drop boxes in Portland in Oregon and nearby Vancouver, Washington. In Portland, an incendiary device damaged a ballot box, though most ballots were preserved. In Vancouver, a ballot box near a U.S. bus station was also set on fire, impacting hundreds of ballots. Washington Secretary of State condemned these attacks, affirming election security, and said that both local and federal law enforcement are involved. With just 1 week to go until the U.S. election, hundreds of thousands of ballots are flooding into ballot processing centers around the country as millions of Americans are casting their votes early. In a historic move, New York City schools will be closed on November 1st to commemorate the festival of Diwali. Deputy Commissioner of the Mayor's Office for International Affairs, Dilip Chauhan, announced this significant development, highlighting the importance of recognizing the city's diverse cultural heritage. Chauhan expressed gratitude to Mayor Eric Adams for declaring Diwali a public holiday.
This year Diwali is so special. First time in the history of New York City, school will be closed on Friday, November 1st. It's not easy in the New York City, where 1.1 million students are studying in the school, to declare school is a public holiday. So many community leaders, they have started this movement so many years back, community advocates, elected officials, but finally, under the administration of the New York City Mayor Eric Adams, administration has declared November 1st Friday is a school holiday.
On to the Asia Pacific now. Super Typhoon Kongray is expected to make landfall on Thursday in Taiwan after heavy rain and strong winds lashed the island. Storm with winds up to 300 kilometers per hour strengthened into a super typhoon on Wednesday. Authorities warned the southeastern city of Taitung could face landslides triggered by the typhoon. Taiwan President Lai Ching-te has urged people to stay away from the mountains and the coast. The Globe and Mail have reported that top Canadian officials have admitted to leaking details about its so-called investigation into the killing of Khalistani terrorist Hardeep Singh Nijjar to a US daily, The Washington Post. According to the report, Natalie Drouin, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's National Security and Intelligence Advisor, has confirmed that she leaked sensitive information. She told the Commons Public Safety Committee that leaking of sensitive information was part of a communication strategy. Further, Drouin also affirmed that the communication strategy was seen by the Prime Minister's office. However, Drouin's admission about the leak was met with criticism from the opposition camp, which asked as to why the Prime Minister, his Foreign Affairs and Public Safety Ministers and the Royal Canadian Mounted Police didn't share this information with the public. Nijjar was shot and killed outside a Gurudwara in Surrey in June last year. Nijjar, who held Canadian citizenship, was designated a terrorist by the National Investigation Agency in 2020. Next, we take a look at other stories making news around the world. Stranded for 2 weeks by roadblocks in Bolivia, a group of bus drivers described their situation as inhumane, feeling ignored amid ongoing anti-government protests supporting former President Evo Morales. Graphic artist Bolahem Bushiba, who worked on animated feature films for Pixar and Disney, went on trial in France for allegedly ordering the live-streamed rave of preteen girls on Tuesday. Amid flash floods caused by torrential rains from a cold front moving through southeastern Spain, civil guards rescued a child from a house via helicopter on Tuesday as roads and towns were inundated. You're with us on DD India News Hour, still to come on this show. PM Modi to launch various infrastructure and development projects at Ekta Nagar in Gujarat today. India's Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal visits Saudi Arabia to explore new avenues of economic cooperation. And a 67-year-old Belgian paraglider killed in mid-air collision with another pilot in Himachal Pradesh.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the Economic Brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Who will be the next president of United States of America?
Will Donald Trump make a dramatic comeback, or will Kamala Harris become America's first woman president?
It's a tight race to the White House.
The knives are out and the battle lines sharply drawn.
He's becoming increasingly unstable and unhinged.
She's a threat to democracy because she shouldn't even be the candidate.
I'm Amritpal Singh.
I'm Shubhendu Ghosh.
We travel across the United States
to decode the issues at the heart of this polarized election.
Watch this space only on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Tanvi Taneja. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi is visiting Gujarat from today on a two-day visit. Prime Minister Modi will inaugurate and lay the foundation stone of various infrastructural and development projects in Ekta Nagar this evening. The Prime Minister will also offer floral tribute at the Statue of Unity, which will be followed by Rashtriya Ekta Divas celebrations on 31st of October, that is tomorrow.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi is visiting Gujarat on the 30th and the 31st of October. During this visit, he will travel to Ekta Nagar, Kevadia, where he will inaugurate and lay the foundation stone of various infrastructural and development projects worth over 280 crore rupees.
The phase 1 of this particular walkway and a fully about 1 kilometer completely shaded walkway will be inaugurated by Honorable Prime Minister tomorrow. Apart from that, we realize that our buses are air conditioned, which are free. But when a high-end tour, anybody comes here, to give them a better experience, we are having smart bus stops which will be air conditioned. So a tourist now can, after visiting the attraction, rest in these are going to be big air conditioned bus stops. They can rest there, and then as per their convenience, they can board the bus, go to the next attraction. So constantly we are working on that.
Prime Minister Modi will also address the officer trainees of the 99th Common Foundation course in Arambh 6.0. The theme for this year's program is Road for Atmanirbhar and Viksit Bharat.
The area around the tallest statue in the world has seen unprecedented growth in the past few years. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has time and again brought in developmental projects that aim to enhance tourist experience, sustainability as well as accessibility. Not only this, a number of attractions are also added to the already existing attractions so that it grabs more eyeballs from tourists across the globe.
Tourists also participated in the world-class facilities at the Statue of Unity and paid tribute to Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel.
This is a wonderful experience. We came to know a lot about Sardarji Patel. Other experiences are marvelous. It is one of the greatest work in the world.
It was really great, and I especially loved about the way we get to know about the statue.
The region has also garnered a lot of interest by private planes who are opening up malls, showrooms, shops, restaurants and hotels in the nearby areas.
We have certain projects which the stone laying is going to happen. Soon there is here there is going to be a hospitality district. It's going to be a big zone where big hotels might come up in the future.
On 31st of October, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will offer floral tribute at the Statue of Unity, which will be followed by Rashtriya Ekta Divas celebrations. The Unity Parade will comprise of 16 marching contingents from 9 states and 1 Union Territory Police, 4 Central Armed Police Forces, NCC, and a marching band. Hell March contingent of the NSG, the Daredevil Show by BSF and CRPF women and men bikers will be special attractions at this Unity Parade. Meghna Dev's report for DD India.
India's Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal is visiting Saudi Arabia to explore new avenues of economic cooperation. During the visit, Minister Goyal is participating in the 8th edition of the Future Investment Initiative in Riyadh. Minister Piyush Goyal held a meeting with Peter Herwerk, CEO of Schneider Electric, a global company specializing in energy management and digital automation with a strong presence in our country. Piyush Goyal discussed the company's investment plans for India and how it can leverage the nation's talent pool and government support to provide high-tech, sustainable and energy-efficient solutions to the world. Piyush Goyal met William E. Ford, Chairman and CEO of the global growth investment firm General Atlantic. He discussed the company's potential to collaborate with India's healthcare sector, especially in consumer-focused health enterprises. Additionally, he explored potential for the expansion of their investment in global capability centers, as well as various other sectors in the country. India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, accompanied by Minister of Parliamentary Affairs Kiran Rijiju, is en route to Tawang in Arunachal Pradesh. In a post on X, Rajnath Singh said that he looked forward to interacting with armed forces personnel stationed in the area. During the visit, the minister will also attend the inauguration of a museum dedicated to Major Ralingnau Bob Kading, a distinguished Indian Army officer honoured for his bravery. India's Minister of State for Defence Sanjay Seth visited Leh and celebrated Diwali with soldiers, spreading joy and gratitude to those protecting our nation. He also paid heartfelt tributes to the fallen heroes at the Rezangla War Memorial, located on the Indo-China border. In a boost to the oil marketing companies, India's Minister for Petroleum and Natural Gas, Hardeep Singh Puri, welcomed the announcement of increase in the dealer commission for petrol pump dealers. This will result in decrease of petrol and diesel prices in several parts of the country. The decision aims to benefit consumers in remote areas, and it's a part of the Modi government's vision to connect areas like the Northeast to the rest of the country. Effective from Wednesday, the increase in dealer commissions will enhance services for around 7 crore citizens without increasing fuel prices. Next, more news from India. A Belgian paragliding pilot lost his life as he crashed after a mid-air collision with another pilot shortly after taking off at Bir Billing in Himachal Pradesh. The accident involved 2 foreign solo pilots who collided while airborne and crash-landed. Police officials confirmed that one pilot, Patrice Fayarts, who is a Belgian national, had lost his life in the incident. The other pilot, who is a Polish national, was injured in the mishap. Heavy rain continued to lash Chennai, disrupting normal life and leading to waterlogging and traffic congestion in the state capital. According to India Meteorological Department, moderate thunderstorms at isolated places were seen over Chennai, Chengalpattu, Kanchipuram, Tiruvallur, Nagapattinam, Mayiladuthurai and Tiruvarur districts and Karaikal area. A thin layer of smog covered the national capital on Wednesday as parts of Delhi. Air quality remained in the very poor category, with the air quality index of over 300 in many areas. The smog, primarily caused by vehicular emissions and stubble burning in neighboring states, has sparked concerns over rising pollution issues faced by the residents. A hand wash awareness campaign was organized in Trichy, Tamil Nadu, to educate the children on the importance of hand hygiene in preventing the spread of diseases. The initiative aimed at promoting better hygiene practices, particularly focusing on children and elderly, highlighting the crucial role of hand hygiene in preventing common infections.
With soap and fingers. Okay, first step. And wash our hands.
In Sri Lanka, postal voting for the general elections will take place today at police stations, district secretariats and election commission offices. Postal ballots will also be marked on the 1st and 4th of November at these offices and Triforces camps. The election commission has said that a total of about 7.3 lakh government employees are eligible to mark their choices through postal voting. For those unable to vote on these dates, an alternative arrangement is available on 7th and 8th of November. The general elections are scheduled to be held on the 14th of November to elect 225 parliamentarians. Bangladesh Law Affairs Advisor of the Interim Government of Bangladesh, Asif Nazrul, said on Tuesday that a search committee has been formed to establish the Election Commission. The advisor to media in Dhaka, after a meeting with visiting UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Volker Turk, said that the interim government's election journey to hold the next general election has started. The High Commissioner is on a 2-day official visit to Bangladesh. He further added that after the formation of the search committee, the Election Commission will be constituted, followed by an update in the voter list. The European Union has imposed hefty extra tariffs up to 35.3% on Chinese-made electric cars after an anti-subsidy probe concluded Beijing's support undercut European automakers. The EU has set out extra tariffs ranging from 7.8% for Tesla, while 35.3% for China's SAIC, that too on top of the EU standard 10% car import duty, making it over 45% for China. The European Commission said tariffs are required to counter what it says are unfair subsidies, including preferential financing and grants, as well as land, batteries and raw materials at below market prices. The China Chamber of Commerce to the EU said it was profoundly disappointed by the protectionist and arbitrary EU measures. Beijing launched its own probes this year into imports of EU brandy, dairy and pork products in apparent retaliation. It also challenged the EU's provisional measures at the World Trade Organization. You're watching DD India News Hour. Time now for some sporting action. Journalists and politicians in Brazil have criticized Rodri being voted the winner of the Ballon d'Or ahead of Vinicius Jr. Brazilian news commentators described the decision as an unjust and retaliatory move, with some concluding that it was the most controversial decision in the awards history. Brazil forward Vinicius, aged 24, was Real Madrid's top scorer last season as the Spanish Giants won the Champions League and La Liga. Manchester City's Spain midfielder Rodri helped his country win Euro 2024 in July and also won the Premier League, UEFA Super Cup and Club World Cup with City. Rodri was awarded the prize in Paris on Monday, with Vinicius absent from the ceremony along with representatives from his club. The awards, organised by France Football, are based on voting by a panel of journalists from the top 100 FIFA-ranked nations. The Uttar Pradesh government is all set to attempt a Guinness World Record by trying to light over 28 lakh earthen lamps in Ayodhya on the occasion of Deepotsav. For Deep Mahotsav, Ayodhya, the birthplace of Lord Ram, gets lit up with dazzling display of diyas every year, marking the return of Lord Ram to Ayodhya after his exile and victory over King Demon Ravana. The banks of the Saryu River get adorned with intricate rangoli designs and vibrant decorations, creating a mesmerizing sight for the onlookers and gathering devotees and tourists from across the country. So as Diwali approaches, a growing number of consumers are turning to local handmade products to celebrate the Festival of Lights. The trend, known as Vocal for Local, aims to support Indian artisans, boost the local economy and preserve traditional craftsmanship. Here's more on how this Diwali, locally made products are making a comeback.
This Diwali, the spirit of Vocal for Local is transforming the way people shop for the festive season. With a rise in demand for Indian-made products, the spotlight is on small businesses and local artisans producing everything from handcrafted decor to eco-friendly diyas.
हमारे ये कलर्स हमने अपने हाथों से बनाए हैं, वॉल हैंगिंग से हाथ की बनी हुई है और दिए हैं डेकोरेट किए हुए हैं हमारे हाथ से, और कुछ हमने ये तोरण बनाई है जो हमारे हाथ की बनी हुई है, जो देखने में बहुत सुंदर भी है और अच्छी सेल भी हो जाती है हमारी अपने हाथ की बनी हुई.
These artisans here, they are selling such beautiful things, handmade things, which is so eco-friendly, and being with them and seeing their artwork in our festival would definitely highlight my festival and make my festival so lighted and bright.
I just opt for going for these handmade products made by these local people.
You prefer those?
I prefer those instead of going to the malls, buying say imported stuff and all. I prefer buying it from them.
In the last few years, the Indian government's initiative, Vocal for Local, has encouraged businesses to promote regional crafts, boosting India's economic self-reliance. From terracotta lamps to handmade sweets and textiles, consumers have a wide range of quality and locally made products to choose from. With millions celebrating Diwali with locally made products, the Vocal for Local campaign is helping to revitalize the Indian traditional art forms and supporting India's economical resilience. This festive season, the true glow of Diwali shines not just in homes but also in the lives of the local artisans across the country. With video journalist Praveen Sharma, along with Kriti Vadera, this is Sumana Bati Revana Siddhappa from New Delhi reporting for DD India.
So that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and the world on our DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. You can scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Tanvita Neja. From all of us here in New Delhi, thank you for watching. Namaskar.